everybody. I don't know about you, but when I saw the first graphs of Hodal and saw the progress of the weight in peso book, I thought it was a mistake. And then later I saw it was 70 and the target was 74. It was rather frustrating. We could establish a sort of clearinghouse. I transfer him 4 kilos of myself and we reach a more actual weight. The idea here is to present Greentizen. This is a launching of Greentizen. It's a rather crazy project where Nicolas Hodal, Gabriel Colla, Sergio Fogel are participating. We all give our ideas, and Silvia Chevitz is the only who works. The idea is to explain why are we involved in this. Everybody talks about the environment, everybody is concerned about the environment, but we try to do things lowering the carbon rate and using solar panels. But each one of these efforts are not quite well coordinated, and the effect is not really relevant. What everybody knows is that the main issue is to coordinate. I don't know how many of you have known about smart grids. Smart grids is one of the more updated issues in the area of utilities. If you consider the electrical grid, electrical net, is a very simple system, and the logic is the same as 50 years ago, and it has no feedback, no information. The idea to use intelligence of the electric network in order to solve the major problem, that is to save energy whenever it's really necessary. If you save energy when it's not necessary, here we have a graph of a typical use of an electric company when UTES has to use an intelligent rate. The intelligence there is that they charge us more at certain hours. What all electric companies try to do is to reach a flat demand. When I am consuming below a certain rate, electricity has no cost because it's being generated, and the major cost is not to generate electricity but to store the electricity. And on the other hand, the opposite, when there is a high demand and a peak, like in the graph, in that case, electric companies must start burning anything at all. While we're using hydroelectric energy, and we affect very little the environment, when we start with the pikes, depending on the time of the day and the month, in those peaks we start burning all coal, and that's where the major pollution is created. And it's also far more expensive. Energy, one of the few assets that become more expensive when there is a greater production. It is opposed to any other utility, to any other product. So, also by an economic reason, but also due to this environment concern, to make this demand flat is important. That's why electric companies decided to make this a smart grid. That is, to use all type of technology in order to create this flat demand through a system that is called demand response. When we are in the peak area, I'm asking the company to reduce the air conditioning, paying more. So the money that is invested in this are billions or trillions of dollars throughout the world. There are some things that we have never been implemented. Some things that perhaps you have not perceived them. Implementation is extremely slow. Why is it so slow? Because the approach being taken is technology-centric. They are only focused on technology, and they intend to solve the problem through technology. They have to use a very sophisticated software and utility, very rather complicated software, intelligent sensors at home in the homes. There is a trend to use the sensors. I think none of you has an intelligent sensor at home. The deployment is very slow, very expensive. Take into account the money, the cost that you'd had to change a couple of bulbs for each one of us. There has to be a two-way communication, and when we start thinking about this, we may consider that electric devices could have sensors that communicate with each other and with the electric network. If I have 3 heaters at home, for instance, there may be a system where, at a time when not all of them are working. So all electric devices in our homes will be able to communicate with each other and with UTE. That's a good news. The bad news is perhaps we'll never see it. But the idea is to make this, or to use a people-centric approach. There is already a smart grid that is being implemented, the social network. If we are not smart, who will be? I mean, the people is smart. The idea is to use people's intelligence with the social networks in order to start the first steps of this implementation. From the human point of view, what do we intend? What do we want? Everybody wants to help on the environment, but we need a certain feedback, a certain recognition. For instance, in the United States, you see a lot of Prius, the hybrid cars, and the people who are driving these cars could be using a BMW or something more expensive. But they use this type of car as a statement, like saying, I care about the environment. The Prius, a very easy to identify car, and it's sold to So the issue is that people want recognition and feedback on their actions in favor of the environment. And that is the idea of Greentizen. The idea to create a crowdsourcing platform on the social networks. Each one of us can propose actions that may seem interesting. For instance, let's change 1 bulb per month to low consumption bulb. But doing so through the social networks, perhaps instead of being only one, will be thousands of people doing so. So there is an educational point of view too. People promote ideas, disseminate them through Facebook, Twitter, and people execute these actions, and everybody has earned credits, points, as a way of recognition. So somebody can say, hey, I have 8,000 points, and my category in the grid shows that I'm doing something on behalf of the environment. This is a pre-launching of the application. Of course, you may find errors, mistakes. Let us know and be tolerant. Following Nicola's advice, we decided not to upload this to Apple stores, but I hope you will be more tolerant. It's a web application that also has applications for iPhones, Android, and BlackBerry. For the time being, we have only iPod and Android. And basically, the idea is that everybody can promote an action. The person has his own profile that extends, becomes enlarged, it earns points, can decide to make share or join, and they receive feedback. You got the points. For the time being, points only serve for recognition, but in the future, perhaps these points may be changed by things that are really valuable. For instance, we tend to talk with airlines. Airlines generate more carbon monoxide than any other company, and perhaps they can generate miles for these people. I think that many companies will be able to donate awards or prizes in exchange for these points. So we have the actions, the user ranking, there will be various contests. At the beginning, it starts being rather simple, but the features we intend to include in the future may be a contest between Artage and another company in order to determine the points that each company's employees have. Challenges may be made between the groups. We are launching a couple of initiatives that we proposed. A first initiative that we are launching and intend to do it in all the events, that is to recycle and devise all the waste in the different containers, organic, non-organic, plastic, because we know this must be done. When we don't do it, we intend to promote this initiative in the GeneXus community.
So as I said, you can choose the action to do joins or share it in Twitter, and you have control whether it is going to be shown on Twitter or not. Finally, we want to have another initiative, and we are trying to measure its effect. And this is one where there is a classic difference between working alone and working together. If you think each of us has dozens of equipment, machines are connected to us in standby mode, because for us, having just one has no effect for the environment. Some of them even consume 50 watts per hour. So if we accumulate that, it ends up being a lot. However, if we multiply that by the number of people who are present here, maybe some 3,000 people, I guess, and each of us turns off one of those devices, then we can multiply that by 3,000, and then the saving becomes more significant. So we invite you all to join this initiative GeneXus 100, that is to say, to turn off part of your equipment. This is the GeneXus 101. Let's help us recycle. This was everything. I hope you're interested in the idea. In terms of the questions, you will see that this is in English. This is being done